Well, hello everyone. Mari Graceberg here, your host for the Joint Venture Success Summit. And here with me is Omar Zenhom. And I'm really excited because we're going to be covering how webinars are critical in your launches, not just your launches, but in your business in general. And particularly, we're going to be talking about WebinarNinja, the tool that we're using right now to deliver this video training interview. So I'm excited for this, and just wanted to welcome you to the stage first.
Well, thank you for having me, Marie. It's great to have you, and great to be here and be able to share with your audience.
Thank you. I'm delighted, and I'm sure our audience are as well. So first off, before I get too excited here, I'd love for you to share with us your story, the backstory behind not just WebinarNinja, which I'm really excited about how you came up about this, but also what was your experience? What was it like? What was your life and your business before and after you start incorporating collaboration or joint ventures or partnering in your marketing mix?
That's a good question. I mean, a lot of people who've known me for a while know that I started out as a teacher. I went to college to become an English teacher, and I got my bachelor's and my master's in English and education. And I taught for over 13 years. This is what I did at the high school and university level. The last 5 years of my career, I was in management. I was the head of department, and I did a lot of teacher training and things like that. But along the way, while I was in academia, I was kind of dabbling on this internet thing and seeing if I can make some money on here, and is this even viable? I mean, I started around 2001, and I started to get more confident with my skills as an entrepreneur. And after a few years, I would say about 8 years, it took me a while to be confident, I decided to leave my full-time job as an educator and become a full-time entrepreneur. And one of the things I struggled with is understanding business concepts, understanding what it takes, the skills to run a business properly. I think a lot of us, we dabble in certain areas, whether it's marketing or finance. We pick up a book here, we pick up a book there, but I never kind of felt like there was any kind of cohesive program other than getting an MBA at a university. And in fact, when I left, I went to get my MBA, even though I had my master's in education and everything. I just felt a little bit insecure about starting a business. So I applied for Wharton Business School. I went to Wharton Business School. I went for a semester, and then one of my professors there who was speaking to me told me, that he was asking me, like, what are you doing here? At the time I was around 30, and he was like, why are you here and what's going on? And I just said, I basically got an MBA because I want to understand business and be a great entrepreneur. And he basically kind of shook his head in frustration and said, you don't get an MBA to be a great entrepreneur. You get an MBA so you could work at like Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley or something like that and be a middle manager. And he said, you'll be just fine. You'll be just fine if you just, work, on your business and read books and kind of learn through experience, and you'll save a whole lot of money and time. And it kind of was a light bulb moment for me where it's like, well, what compelled me to do this? What compelled me to go and get an MBA? It's because I felt like I needed to understand business concepts, but I really didn't want that piece of paper. I really didn't want to invest $150,000. And that's why I started a program called the $100 MBA, which sounds exactly what it is exactly what it sounds like, which is a $100 MBA education. We started out with some courses, some online courses. At the beginning, it was about 100 videos in total. Now we're about 180. And then that was December of 2013. And then August of 2014, we launched the $100 MBA Show, which is our podcast. That's grown tremendously, and we get around 60,000 downloads a day now. It's a really big show, and it's been a lot of fun. But along the way, when I was growing my community in the $100 MBA, teaching people what I know about business and helping people, I started doing webinars. And I kind of started in 2013 when I started launching the $100 MBA. And I really didn't like the tools that were out there. I felt like they were very complicated. Felt like they were very hard to use. There was a lot of moving parts. There wasn't like an easy solution that had everything included. The video thing was separate from the email thing, from the chat, I had to, add all these little things together, and it was almost too much trouble than it was worth. But I was committed because I really love teaching and I love presenting. And I decided to kind of invest in getting better at webinars. And then at one point, I just got really frustrated. I said, I want to use a better tool than this. So I kind of contacted a developer that I worked on and off with, and I created a very small, basic version of what WebinarNinja is today. It was very, nothing like what you see now today, but it was the basic bare bones version. And I just built it so I can use it to just save myself some time, because building a webinar took a lot of time before I had the software. So I started using it in my webinars, and a lot of my students and the attendees and the community at the $100 MBA asked me, what are you using for this webinar? It's like, oh, it's a software that I just put together just so I can run webinars with. And they were like, well, can I buy it? And I was like, I guess you can. Let me put together a sales page and see if I can make this commercially viable. And then Nicole and I were like not really into we never thought about starting a software business, but we just thought, okay, let's just see if people actually want this, or there's just people just saying they want it, and when it's time to actually pay, they're not going to really pay. So, we cleaned up the software, we put up a sales page, we said, we're only going to take 100 people, and we'll see what goes. And we sold out in 24 hours. So we're like, okay, there is a demand here. So we decided to like re-innovate and reiterate the actual software. We did this over and over again. We opened it and closed it. 2 years later, WebinarNinja is what you see today. We have over 10,000 users. And my whole goal with webinars is just to allow people to focus on the content, the presentation that they're giving, and really just not worry about the tech. Let us take care of the tech and make sure that that's all taken care of for you. So it's a fun journey. And along the way, I met some really amazing people doing joint venture webinars. I feel like joint venture webinars are one of the reasons why I have a chance to meet some really interesting people, some really the VIPs in our market space. I've met a lot of best sellers and best speakers on stage, and I've helped them out. And I think one of the best ways you could do that is through joint venture webinars. And I hope to share some of the things I do in today's webinar.